Hey blues fans, you found us and we're glad you did. It's time for another episode of This Week in the Blues. It's our weekly take on blues history. I'm your host, Jimbo Big Train Madsen, with the blues band Big Train and the Locomotives. So let's take a look and see what happened this week in blues history. Blues shouter Jimmy Rushing was born August 26th in 1901. Rushing was known as Mr. 5x5, an affectionate reference to his height and girth ratio. Rushing is from Oklahoma City, which is also the home base of our band, Big Train and the Locomotives. He joined Walter Page's Blue Devils in 1927 and then joined Benny Moten's band in 1929. In 1935, Jimmy Rushing became the featured vocalist of Count Basie's orchestra from 1935 until 1948. The highly influential blues drummer Odie Payne Jr. was born August 27, 1926 in Chicago. Over his long career, he worked with a range of musicians including Sonny Boy Williamson, Muddy Waters, Jimmy Rogers, Eddie Taylor, Little Johnny Jones, Tampa Red, Otis Rush, Yank Ratchell, Sleepy John Estes, and on and on. In the late 1940s, Payne joined Muddy Waters Band and played on classic recordings like Hoochie Coochie Man. Here's a Mississippi ghost story for you. Delta Blind Billy, or Blind Billy, was a traveling blues musician in Mississippi, and he performed with Arthur Big Boy Crudup and Papa Charlie McCoy. One of his notable songs, Hidden Man Blues, was an early variant of Man of Constant Sorrow, with the lyrics, Man of sorrow all my days, left the home where I been raised. He recorded his version of the song in the 1930s. His play on Man of Constant Sorrow suggests that he traveled extensively, possibly through the Appalachia. He is also known for recording songs about being an outlaw, despite being legally blind. Delta blues musician L.C. Almer was born on August 28th in 1928. His career spanned over half a century and was featured in the 2008 documentary film M for Mississippi, a road trip through the birthplace of the blues. If you haven't seen it, it's available on YouTube, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. The family moved to a plantation near Moss Hill. Almer was the youngest of 14 children, and the whole family played music. Almer's musical journey gained momentum in the 1940s when he began performing at local juke joints and bars. In the 1950s, he recorded his first single, It's a Long Road, which showcased his raw talent and emotional depth. However, Almer's career remained relatively underground, as he focused primarily on playing in small venues across the Mississippi Delta. One of the most popular black female recording artists of the 1950s, Dinah Washington, was born August 29th in 1924. Primarily a blues and jazz vocalist, she performed and recorded in a wide variety of styles, including R&B and traditional pop music. She gave herself the title Queen of the Blues. She was a 1986 inductee into the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1993. Blues guitarist and vocalist Luther Georgia Boy Johnson was born August 30th, with his birth year ranging anywhere between 1934 to 1941. Yeah, I know it's quite a range. He was born Lucius Brinson in Davisboro, Georgia. He was raised on a farm and taught himself to play guitar. He is sometimes credited with the blues names Georgia Boy, Snake, or Snake Boy. After completing his service in the U.S. Army, Johnson eventually relocated to Chicago in the early 60s, where he backed Elmore James, Muddy Waters, and Chicago Bob Nelson. In 1970, Johnson moved to Boston, Massachusetts, and found work on the blues festival and college circuits, and recorded and released several albums. Jump blues pianist, singer, and songwriter Mercy D. Walton was born August 30th in 1915. One writer described Walton's songs as a series of memorable blues about the unattractiveness of rural life. mostly aimed at the black migrant workers in Southern California who made up his typical audience. Walton was born in Waco, Texas, and started playing piano at age 13, and learned his style from many of the 10-cent party house pianists that played out in the country on weekends. He had a national hit on specialty records with One Room Country Shack, now considered a blues standard. Chicago-based blues singer and guitarist Joanna Connor was born August 31st in 1962. Connor was born in New York City and raised in Worcester, Massachusetts. After moving to Chicago in 1984, she was drawn to the Chicago blues scene. Since then, she's played with Buddy Guy, Junior Wells, Otis Rush, Sammy Lawhorn, Pinetop Perkins, Hubert Sumlin, Magic Slim, Sun Seals, Coco Taylor, just to name a few. Connor has signed endorsement deals with Gibson Guitars, Victoria Amps, Labella Strings, Mesa Boogie Amps, and Orange Amps. She is an amazing guitar player. We'll have a link to some of her work on YouTube in our show notes. Blues singer and occasional guitarist Nelson Wilborn was born August 31st in 1907. Better known as Red Nelson or Dirty Red, his recording career lasted well over a decade. Two of his standout songs are Crying Mother Blues and Streamline Train, both recorded in 1936. His accompanists on record variously included Cripple Clarence Lofton, Blind John Davis, Black Bob, Kansas Joe McCoy, Papa Charlie McCoy, Big Bill Brunzi, and Lonnie Johnson. Well, blues fans, we just covered some of the highlights here. Now, if you want to know more about these artists or other things that happened this week in the blues, and who wouldn't, just be sure to follow our social media pages or visit our website at bigtrainblues.com. We'll have a new episode next week, so we'll see you then.